All right. So I want to start this video with a quote. Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss in life is what dies inside us while we live. Norman Cousins. I'm not going to talk about nutrition or weight gain or habits today in this video. Instead, I'm going to talk about the sunny topic of death. It recently has come up with a number of our clients, myself included. Death, loss, tragedy, and I wanted to talk about it. First, I wanted to learn more about it, so I did a little bit of research myself, and now I want to talk about it. Here's another quote. The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time. Mark Twain. And what he's referring to there is, if we are truly living our life to the fullest, then we're prepared to die at any time. So real fear of death is because we fear not living. Okay? But this is not the only angle, and it's not the angle I'm going to actually take today. Instead, I want to talk specifically not about our own personal death, which could be a great topic for another day about living fully, but I want to talk specifically about loss, tragedy, the death of somebody that we love. Now, in the 10 years that I've had Blue Titan, I've had members that have lost their husbands, their wives, their parents, brothers, friends, relatives, and tragically, I don't want to say tragically more, but I think everybody feels a little bit this way when you're a parent, the loss of a child. The Rock recently lost his father, and I want to share some of his eulogy. I'm going to share some of his eulogy here, so give me a second while I do so.
Man, I wish I'd... wish I had one more shot. I wish I had one more shot, just to say goodbye. Say I love you, say thank you, respect you, but, I have a feeling he's watching, he's listening. I know my dad would be saying, kayfabe the tears. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank everyone for coming and being so generous with your time and being so caring and kind with your condolences to me and my family. We thank you. Thank you to everyone who came up here and really gave beautiful tributes to my dad, to our dad. You try and you think about, well, what am I going to write? And this is, you don't know what to write for a eulogy. It's your dad. You don't expect it. As you guys know, he went very quick. I was on my way to work the other day on January 15th, and I was just pulling into work. And we were shooting that day, and it was the very first day of production. And then I get a call from my wife, Lauren, who said, hey, I just spoke to Cora. It seems like something's going on with your dad. And Lauren was with our... She was with our babies. She was with my mom, and she said, I really can't talk. She goes, I think you should call Cora, though. So of course I called Cora. Cora, she broke the news to me, and right when she broke the news, I was literally just pulling in. I'm looking at the whole crew, hundreds of guys and women milling around and carrying equipment and waving at me in the truck and waving back, and it all got really foggy, and it seemed like it was just a big dream. And you know how you have those moments, you try and shake yourself out of it, and you're like, no, it's not a dream. My dad's gone. And in that moment, I just thought, well, what do I need to do? What's the next thing that I need to do? And I heard a voice say, well, hey, the show must go on. And that was my dad. That was my old man who told me that.
Rocky Johnson, a tremendous athlete. Man, just in fantastic condition.
You know, the wrestling community is a very tight community. It's a global business, but it's a very, very tight community. And they believe in the show must go on.
It's good. It's a good video. Tough. Man, I wish I had one more shot. When somebody is taken from us quickly, we often don't get that time that we might get with somebody who's passing more slowly to prepare ourselves for the idea that they won't be with us anymore. And when we lose them suddenly, we're often left with that feeling of, I wish I had one more shot. And when he continued talking about being in a dream and wishing it was a bad dream and then realizing that it's not, then he asked himself, what do I do next? And I think that that's pretty common. What do I do next? And the voice that he heard told him that the show must go on. But what I want to say to that is, it's not the show must move on. It's not move on. It's go on. Moving on and going on are two different things. C.S. Lewis wrote in one of his books, "Nobody ever told me that grieving feels so much like fear." It is fear, isn't it? You're afraid that you'll be dishonoring that person, or you'll forget that person if you don't mention their name, and you'll forget, and the people that were in your lives will forget. And if we don't stop thinking about them, then we'll remember that we're alone, that they're no longer with us. And we don't want to be alone. We want to sit in our dark corner and think about them constantly so that we never forget about them. And we want to shrink our world so that we don't have to hear other people telling us that we need to move on. And friends don't really help, right? Friends don't really help. They're telling us we need to move on, we need to take down their pictures, we need to pack away their stuff, don't talk about them anymore, don't bring them up, hey, be careful when you hang out with so-and-so, don't mention, Bob or John or Brian or whatever, don't mention their name, we want to help them move on. This just causes more fear. The fear that you'll have to pretend that you have moved on around other people because you don't actually want to move on, because moving on would be losing them forever, because once their memory is gone of them, then they're truly gone forever, right? They say there's two deaths, when you actually die and then when people stop talking about your name. God forbid you forget. Going on, the show must go on, is not moving on. And your friends are wrong, and I've been wrong before when I've told people they need to move on. I was wrong and insensitive, and I watched a great TED Talk that told me this the other day from a widow. You don't need to move on, but you can go on. I don't think The Rock will ever forget about his dad. I don't think he'll ever forget about the memories. I don't think he'll ever not want to mention his father. I don't think he'll ever not want to reminisce about his father. I think every time he walks into a wrestling ring, he's going to remember his father, and it might bring a few tears to his eyes, but that's not bad. And even if his mom remarried, his mom's not going to forget about his father, not going to not talk about his father, not going to be a part of his life. He's not going to take down the photos of his father in his house so that he can stop grieving, and his mom's not going to take down the photos of her husband so that she can stop grieving. You don't need to avoid the conversation. You don't have to pretend like this person hasn't passed away. There's nothing wrong with going on while continuing to honor and remember and talk and reminisce about that person. The Rock is simply choosing to live his best life because that's what his father would have wanted. Because his father's passing reminds him that life is short and life is a gift and life is precious. And that we should take advantage of every moment that we're given for the people that we have in our lives and the people that are connected to us. Great things can happen when we continue to live. we can tell the great stories of the people that we've lost and honor them in the way that we continue to live. That's why we do Hero Wads in CrossFit, isn't it? We do a Hero Wad so that we don't forget, and so that their families can honor their name in a larger sense, that the world can come to know who that person is. They are not replaced, and we do not move on, but we do go on. And there's beauty in death. After a funeral, we all love a little bit more, hug a little bit harder, and smile a little bit more often. If only we could make that last. We are reminded to be present, and that every goodbye could be our last. Every workout, every meal, every conversation, every laugh, every cry, or God forbid, every argument could be our last with that person. This is not moving on. And I would never, as your coach, ask you to move on, and I ask you not to ask your friends to move on. But I do ask you to help them go on. When you die, do you want to be forgotten? Do you want your kids to stop talking about you? I'd say no. When I die, I do not want Amanda to stop talking about me. Even in death, I want her to be talking about me all the time. But when I die, and if I die before her, I do not want her to be trapped in fear, paralyzed from progress, afraid to continue living, because living means moving on, which it doesn't. It just means going on. I'll finish with this. Life is precious and it can be taken from us at any moment. Child or grandparent, death knocks on all of our doors without warning. So I recommend to you this. Do not spend your time arguing about petty things or stressing about things that you can't control. Remember that nothing is nearly as big or as important as you think it is. Anger slowly. Forgive quickly. And be present always. And if you are grieving, don't move on. Don't try to move on. But do go on. Don't try to avoid saying somebody's name or reminiscing about them. But don't say their name and reminisce about them in a way that paralyzes you from living your best life. Live your life to your fullest, remembering the name of your lost one. Talk about them often. Reminisce, brag about them. Hang up photos everywhere. Smile when you see their images, their reflections. You hear their names. But do this while continuing to live the best version of your life possible. This ensures that their name carries on, because if you pass, who will continue to talk about them in this world? If you pass, who will continue their legacy? So you have to live so that you can keep talking about them. You don't need to move on. You just need to go on. I do recommend that you watch the entire eulogy, as well as the TED Talk that I will link in the comments or the post below. Guys, try to enjoy your day, and remember to live every moment to the fullest, because it could be your last, and there's actually beauty in that. Take care.